Welcome back, everybody. It is December 1st of 2024, and this is episode 72 of What is on My Desk. So here we are back for another one of my monthly What is on My Desk workbench update videos. No real new products to show you, but I do have some progress on the kits. I tend to usually say there's not as much progress as I had hoped to get. Life usually finds a way of getting in the way, but this time it's all my fault because Flight Sim 2024 came out. I have spent a lot of time playing that game, and I did not have as much time at the bench as I planned. But trade-offs, right? There's only so much time in your life, and right now Flight Sim 2024 it's what I'm doing. So I did get some progress done, though. I poked away at a couple of little things on the kits. So let's get swung over. We'll take a look at the progress on those kits. Nothing else really to show you this month. And yeah, that will be the intro to this video. So let's get swung over. And as always, my name is Sean, and this is Sean's Aviation. So here we are back at the desk, and yeah, I'll take a look at the progress on the kits. As I mentioned, I don't have any new products, so this is going to strictly be a look at progress, and as I mentioned, not quite as much as I wished I had done, but I've poked away at some stuff. So we'll start with the F-14. So again, this is the monogram F-14A or Revell F-14A, whichever you prefer to use. It's the same molding released by multiple companies over the years. It's going to take a bit of work. There's a little bit, there's some flash here. The kit's showing its age, so there's quite a bit of flash around here, raised panel lines. You can see kind of in this area here where the wings mount, there's lots of cleanup that's going to be needed. So I'm going to lose quite a bit of detail on some of these edges, but I'm not terribly worried. Also a pretty good warp going on in the fuselage, so it doesn't like to stay together, so it's going to take a lot of progressive gluing to get all of this to sit properly. And then yeah, quite a bit of work to do on the fuselage. As I said, even up here there'll be some work on these intakes to clean up. I got to get all the gear doors glued in, as this will be modeled with the gear doors closed. I have to figure out, probably before I mount the two fuselage halves, I'll have to install the missile rails, and then figure out a mounting point for the stand, because this will be mounted on a stand, and I got to work around the wings. Now the wings, I've also done the modification, so you'll see this is a standard wing here. And then this is the wing I've modified. So I went ahead and I wanted to model this with the, for those who might not have seen the initial plan, it's gonna be modeled in this configuration. Left wing swept back, right wing all the way forward. And we painted up as prototype number 3 that actually did this test flight to prove that the airframe could be flown. It was an asymmetric wing. What that required, though, is because you have the wings in this situation, you're going to have a lot more lift created on this wing, so the aircraft would constantly want to roll left. So the way when the aircraft was flown, most of the right spoilerons were extended partially to offset that inherent roll that was created. So that's how I'm modeling it, I should say. So that required me, because this doesn't kind of come with the option of having the flaps down or any of that stuff, I had to cut it out. So I went along the seam line where the flaps are, just on the upper wing. I didn't have to worry about the bottom wing because the flaps aren't actually being retracted. But I went ahead and cut along that flap line, and then I glued the upper half of the flap to the lower wing, and then I cut out all of the spoilers, and then I glued the forward half of the wing to the bottom half of the wing, and that gave me a full wing minus all of that open gap where the spoilers are. And then I went through and I just filled it in with some sheet styrene, including, there's a couple of these straight lines in here, which I molded back in with some, again, just some sheet styrene. Yeah, and then I cleaned it up. So once I paint it all up, it should look really, really good. And that's ensuring that model is going to look as close to I need it to look with the wings. I also got the cockpit painted. So you'll see here I've got the gray, and I did the olive drab cover that goes forward of the IROs or Rios instrument panel. Main cockpit's painted, and I got the black areas done. I haven't done any other weathering or anything like that. Same with the instrument panels, just the black areas are painted. I still have to do a lot of black wash, dry brushing, all that kind of stuff. And then the seats, they are assembled and partially painted. I did all this by hand, so I painted the seat area first, then I painted the yellow. Sorry, cat getting into the areas she's not supposed to be getting into. I painted the seat pan, and I painted the yellow, and then I painted the black. And when I did that, I hand painted the stripes, and then I painted the olive drab. So I still got to, and then I did the seat belts in a tan. So I still got to go ahead and paint the aluminum on the buckles, and then it needs a dry brush. And I mean, at the end of the day, it's actually going to be built with the pilots installed. So I'll have to start working on those sooner rather than later, get them sorted out, painted up, and then get all of this weathered and put together and then get mounted. Cockpit's gonna be closed. So again, I'm not terribly worried about too much detailing in here. I'm gonna do as much as I can, but I'm not gonna be crazy about it, because once you have the pilots installed and the canopy on and all that kind of stuff, a lot of it's gonna go missing. But that's coming together quite nicely. So again, next little steps are still some cockpit work. And then the A6, not much has been done at all. The fuselage only has the gray painted in the cockpit, and I picked out a little bit of some interior parts. I'm still gonna do some more in there a little later. For now, I'm just worried about the basics. And then again, a good warp going on in that fuselage. So that's gonna be fun to work out. But this is gonna be built wheels down. I'm gonna have the ladder open, air brakes are gonna be open, cockpit's gonna be open, so I'm doing some work on that, because again, the kit isn't really designed to have the cockpit open, so I have to play around with all of that. Instrument panel has the black area painted. This is the area that the canopy attaches to and slides open and closed. So this is where I also have to do a bit of work to make sure that's all gonna look good when I'm done. Main cockpit tub, same thing, painted gray, and then I painted the seats khaki, and then I painted the seat belts tan, and then I did the black detailing. And the A6, this kit's weird because the bottom half of the seats stay molded as part of the cockpit tub, and just the back seats fit in. Never could understand why Monogram modeled it like that, but anyways. So the back halves are done. I did them the same way I did the F14. Painted the seat cushion first, then the yellow and the handles, then I hand painted the black around it, and then did the striping on the ejection handles. And then I painted the seat belts khaki, and then I painted the tan, and then I painted the top of the parachute cover in olive drab color. So it's all same thing. I just need to do the aluminum buckles and everything on those. And then this is also ready for some black wash and some weathering. And again, that's going to be all put together and built with the cockpit in the open position. So I'm spending a bit more effort on this one than I am with the F14 to make sure this looks good. And then this is that rear deck that usually sits about here with the cockpit glued on. But because I want it to be open, once I glue the canopy to this will be glued back here somewhere, and the canopy will sit on the rear decking, which I'll have to figure out. Like I said, it's not designed to be built open, so I have a little bit of work ahead of me to make sure all of that lines up appropriately. And then the F5, these are the two fuselage halves of the F5. Again, the gray is painted. There's no real detail inside to be picked out, but it's painted gray. I've also glued on some of the side panels. There's a panel here, an insert here, and same on the other side. A little bit of work needs to be done on that still. Probably some Mr. Surfacer, and then a little bit of sanding just to clean all that up. Try to blend them in as much as I can. I trimmed open the holes on the side of the fuselage, and that's to fit the refueling probe, which mine has a little bit of a bend to it. So again, it's going to take a bit of playing around and whatnot to get it to sit appropriately. And I got to make sure I look at some references to figure out this angle, because I can kind of play with what angle that refueling probe sits at. And I've got a pretty good reference book I bought years ago, CF5 in Canada Service. So I'm sure if I go through here long enough, I'll find a good picture that shows a reference with a refueling probe from the front, hopefully, just to figure out, make sure I get that angle right. Yeah, there's a decent one right there. This is exactly what I need. So I can make sure that I got that angle in the proper orientation to ensure the drying really isn't the best. But anyways, that's what that's for. So I'll have to make sure I get that angle matched properly when I build this. And then the cockpit tub, again, painted gray. And I have everything that's black, hand built, painted black. Instrument panel, again, same thing. It's ready for some black wash, some dry brushing, and some highlights. That's gonna fit in here. This one as well will be built with the cockpit open, and there'll be no pilot installed, so I do need to make sure I get the instrument panel or the cockpit itself decently weathered to make it look visually interesting. And then this piece here is sort of the support for the canopy. So this actually gets glued in like that, and that's, I got that backwards. It gets glued in like that, and that's the canopy glues to this bow, and that's what holds the canopy open. The F5 had this weird style canopy, so that's what that is. Now the seat was a resin seat. I bought this kit used, and the previous owner had purchased this resin seat for the airframe. And after doing some research, turns out that this is actually an F5E ejection seat, not an F5A. So it's not quite accurate for this version of kit, but I'm gonna go ahead and use it anyways because it looks really good and is a lot better than what Kinetic offers in the box. Just, you know, accepting the fact that it's not perfectly accurate, but I'm okay with that because that's gonna make the cockpit look really good, really busy, and really detailed. And I'm, you know what, it's not perfect. So that, and then I've had to modify both the seats slightly as well as these rails to ensure that they fit down the back, because they slide down the little slots behind the ejection seat. And it was a little bit of work to make sure all of that would line up, but it does. I say that now, and now that it's on camera, I can't get it to fit. I've had this, there we go, like that. So it helps if I put it in right. There we go. Now that you put it in the right way, it fits a lot better. So that's how it's all gonna look. But again, it's all gonna be black washed, you know, dry brushed, cleaned up, detailed. It's gonna look really, really good. And you look down inside that cockpit, it's a really small kit. You forget how small the F5 is until you start building something like this and compare it to, you know, an F14 or something. But that's gonna be really nice looking down inside that. And I'm pretty happy with how that's coming along. So that's doing good. Again, like I said, the next steps, I'm still got a little bit of work to go on cockpits, get all of that cleaned up and ready to go, and then I can start assembling fuselages and stuff. So it's a bit of work. The only other kit I have is the B24D, the monogram B24D, which I'm pretty sure I mentioned in the last month's video. I'm doing as part of a live build, and I did do the first live build of this a few weeks ago, so you can check that out. It's in my library. You can go back and watch that, and I'll be doing the next one some point in December. I don't have an official date yet, but I will post it on Facebook as soon as I have a firm date scheduled to do the next live stream, and I will be a little bit smarter about it and actually get the live stream formatted with a thumbnail and everything. So it'll be on with a date and the whole 9 yards, so everybody out there will be able to track the date and see it on my channel versus just remembering based off a Facebook post. So gonna get that worked a bit better than I did this first time, but it was also the first time. So the few things I've done, most of this, I started things like getting these seats glued together, getting the interior pieces here trimmed off the sprues, did all that on the live stream. Then I went ahead, which I did mention I would do. I'm doing a bit of the real grunt work off camera to make what I am doing on camera a little bit more visually appealing. So if you did happen to watch that live stream and you saw where I ended it, then you'll see here I have quite a bit more done. And specifically, I did work in the Bombay. So I started making these side frames on the live stream, but I went ahead and finished them off, added the central pedestal, and I glued in the Bombay roof. And that way, it's basically clearing up and detailing that Bombay. So when you close it up again, when you look down inside the Bombay, you're going to see a roof the way the real aircraft would. You wouldn't see all the way up to the top of the fuselage. You would just see to the bottom of the wing spar. And, whoops, you have this big, massive central brace down the middle, which again is something that you would see on the real airplane that isn't actually involved in the kit. And you can see all I have to do really when I put it together is glue this down, and then I can clean up these seams, and I can just brush paint some aluminum paint in there, and it'll clean all that up and make it look as close to accurate as I can. I've also, now the next thing I'm going to do before the next live stream, there's not much, but inside the Bombay here, there's a whole bunch of supports that live inside here. There's a vertical one down near the center, and then there's a couple of angled pieces that all, actually I think it's a V shape. There's one that goes from here to here, and then one from here to here. There's another one inside. So I'm gonna basically get all of those cut to the right size and ready to go. And then I can glue all of those in at the next live stream and figure out the bomb racks, because they're going to fit in. You'll see there's the notches. Probably easier to see on this one. There's some notches inside the frame here where the bomb racks fit in and glue up, and they're supposed to mount to the little frame that glues into here, but because I'm adding the base, that's not there anymore, so I have to trim the Bombays to the right depth. So I'll have to kind of play some dry fitting games and figure all that out and then trim the tops off, but then I can mount them in, and even on this side, I can probably glue them to the bottom of this frame by lining them up, and then when this drops together, they should slide over top of these little slots, and that way I can get all of the Bombay glued together while it's halved, and then just slide it together at the end, and you'll have a finished Bombay. So that's kind of where I'm going with that. So not much else to do with this. And like I said, the rest of it will be in the live stream. So the next live stream build, as I said, if you are interested in watching, I'll make sure I have those the dates clearly announced and have stuff planned. But I'm going to finish off all of that Bombay stuff, get all of that assembled and locked in. And then I'm going to finish prepping all of the interior parts, the instrument panel, the yokes, all of the other interior, the doors and everything. I'll probably get this lower piece glued in, all of that. I'll probably assemble the nose gear as well. I might do the trimming on the nose piece for the radar, but I'm going to prep all those interior pieces so that I can do all of the painting for the interior, and then that'll be done before the third live stream, and then I can start assembling and stuff like that on the third. So that's the plan on that. So this has been eating up a good chunk of my time, actually, getting all this interior done. That was quite a bit of work and measuring and fiddling around, and I've got all the scrap plastic over here from when I was doing that work, because you know I did make a couple of mistakes, cut a couple of pieces too short. I always try to cut my pieces long and sand them down to the right shape, and that gives you a lot more ability to finesse the shape versus cutting too short and then you got nowhere to go. So anyways, that was that. It's been fun. I'm excited to get these live streams done. So it's a relatively shorter video because that's pretty much all I've got done. Hopefully the next time around we'll have a bit more to show you. Some more interesting progress as you start getting things assembled and you start to see whole airplanes and a bit like that. So anyways, yeah, it's that about wraps it up, unfortunately. So I do have quite a bit more coming out on the channel as usual. The next RCAF history video is coming out in the middle of the month. And I'm gonna have some more time-lapse builds. I'm gonna get those wrapped up. I gotta lay off the flight. I've been working a lot in the month of November, picked up a lot of extra shifts. So between that and then flight sim and everything else, I haven't had as much free time, but I'm hoping through the month of December, I will have a bit more free time. So I'm gonna try to get down to the computer and burn through another one of those time-lapse videos, get that released in December. So should see some more stuff coming out in December, and I'm hoping to get out to more museums as I'm getting into winter and you know, a little bit more free time when I'm on my days off. We'll try to get out to some more museums and get some more content. So yeah, that's that. So again, thank you all for watching, and we'll see you all next time.